Hello and welcome to You with Jesus. What an exciting story this is. A woman who was radically transformed by the healing power of Jesus as she reached out and touched the hem of his garment. And let's jump straight into the story. While he was going, the crowds were nearly crushing him. A woman suffering from bleeding for 12 years who had spent all she had on doctors yet could not be healed by any, approached from behind and touched the tassel of his robe. Instantly, her healing stopped. "Who touched me?" Jesus asked. When they all denied it, Peter said, "Master, the crowds are hemming you in and pressing against you." "Someone did touch me," said Jesus. "I know that power has gone out from me." When the woman saw that she was discovered, she came trembling and fell down before him. In the presence of all the people, she declared the reason she had touched him and how she was instantly cured. "Daughter," he said to her, "your faith has made you well. Go in peace." I read the story a number of times and found myself constantly coming back to wondering what led the sick woman to put herself in that situation. How did she come to be there? Presumably, having an issue of blood, she was unclean in the eyes of Jewish law, and being out in public could potentially make other people unclean. Then to have the audacity to touch a holy man, and in touching him, make him unclean. The whole story speaks of desperation, bravery, risk, faith, and ultimately healing. But again, I'm asking, how did she come to be there? I let my mind imagine her living at home. I imagine her in her early to mid-20s. She's sickly, pale, probably anemic, in pain from cramps and chronically tired and smelly. Beyond the physical pain, I imagine her aloneness, in being restricted, in moving outside of her home, banned from public worship, and treated as an outcast. I imagine her as a single woman, perhaps unable to marry and never to have children. Maybe her parents provide for her needs in their home. She's desperate, or was desperate. She'd spent all her money on doctors and only got worse. Perhaps after 12 years, she had given up on ever being healed until today. Can she believe one more time? I think of situations where I've prayed, not seen answers, and to protect myself from further disappointment, just stopped believing. And that kind of thinking is attractive when you've been disappointed. It's risky to believe one more time. I feel for her fear. I imagine her thinking to herself, I'm also going to go down and I'll pick my moment and I'll reach out and I will touch Jesus. I won't need to talk to him. I won't need him to talk to me. I won't need to embarrass myself by discussing my condition with him. I won't let anyone else know what I'm doing. I will reach out and touch him. If I can just touch the hem of his garment, I will be healed. I imagine her making her way down to where Jesus is. She could see the crowd thronging around him and pressing up against him. I imagine her having a brief second thought, how am I going to do this? But she's determined. I visualise her picking up a scarf over her head to disguise her appearance from those who would recognise her, shuffling forward, turning her body sideways, finding her way through the crowd, edging slowly closer. You can barely see Jesus in the crowd. People are pushing up against him, trying to get near him. It's total madness. She edges forward. If I can just touch the hem of his garment. She stretches out and manages to get the tips of her fingers to brush against the edge of his cloak. And at that very moment that she makes contact with his cloak, she feels power enter her body and she knows that she is healed. Fully, absolutely healed and clean. And she came. How does she come? Trembling, and fell down before him. Yes, she was healed, but she had broken religious law. An unclean woman had reached out and touched a holy man, and surely she had now defiled him. And trembling, she waits to hear the consequences of her actions. But this was no ordinary holy man. He was constantly hanging out with people he shouldn't, constantly showing compassion to people he shouldn't, constantly doing things on the Sabbath that he shouldn't, all because his number one priority was not law, it was love. And it was an all-embracing, all-powerful love. And in one powerful touch, the unclean had touched the clean. But instead of the unclean making the clean unclean, the unclean is cleansed by the clean. And I guess we could ask at this point, who touched who? For we learn power went out from him. An overwhelming lesson from this story is that in the midst of the crowd, Jesus sees the one. He stops for the one. I guess you could say Jesus doesn't do crowds very well. Sure, he preached to crowds. You might remember the other time where the crowd was crushing him, so he arranged to get into a boat and had it pushed out a little way from the shore and used that as a pulpit. But a lot of the time he's escaping crowds. It's interesting. In a world where big is best and we want to know how many people came or how many people are involved, we can lose focus. The goal is not more and more people and bigger crowds and bigger churches. Our goal is to minister the love and compassion of God. And here in the midst of the crowd, Jesus' attention is on one very sick woman. Just realized I'm wearing this shirt. Oh, there it is. Stand Tall. It's an event. We have thousands of kids come last week, and we have incredible speakers, celebrity speakers come and give messages of positive hope to these high schoolers. And it's a really wonderful event, and I'm backstage, and it's a great event to be around with and rubbing shoulders with all these people, and there's so much energy, and it's such a successful event, and the place is full at the International Convention Centre, and it's the place to be in the middle of June, let me tell you. And I'm preparing for this event on the day before, and I get a call from someone in need, someone who needs me to be with them the next day. And I said, look, just give me 30 minutes. I need to think how I'm going to do this. And in that 30 minutes, I thought about Stand Tall, and I thought about the thousands of people that were going to be there and the huge crowd and what a buzz it would be to be around them. Also thought about the jobs that I was supposed to be doing and how I was going to extract myself from them all. But then I thought about this one person in need. And the words that came to me was the story of the lost sheep that Jesus tells in Luke chapter 15 of Jesus leaving the 99 behind and going for the one. And in that moment, I just felt to leave the crowd, as it were, and go and spend time with the one. And it was pretty powerful, actually, to be able to say to that one person, Jesus sees you. He sees you in your aloneness. And me being here with you today is more important to me and therefore to God. It's more important to be with you than it is to be where I was going to be and to convey the heart of God for that person. Can you imagine this woman in this crowd of people stretching out? Everybody else thinks she's just another part of the crowd, but she has her needs, and he sees her need, and he sees the faith that she reaches out with and touches him, and power goes out from him, bringing healing. Jesus stops for you. He's not too busy. He hasn't got other things on his mind. And look at who he is stopping for in this story. A broken, sick, ceremonially unclean woman. If you look at the ministry of Jesus, so many of his one-on-one transforming encounters were with women. The Phoenician woman, Jairus' daughter, the grieving widow, the woman of Samaria, Mary and Martha, Mary Magdalene, the woman who emptied the perfume on Jesus' feet, and I could go on. He transformed their lives, and many of them became leaders in the church. It's the institutions of man that have oppressed women, not the example of Jesus, who lifts up the lowly, gives grace to the humble, and brings freedom from oppression. So back to the woman. There she is, trembling at Jesus' feet. She's voluntarily made herself known to the crowd as the one that touched Jesus. And in the presence of all the people, it says in the text, the crowd would now recognize who she is. Perhaps they are waiting for Jesus to publicly condemn her for her unlawful actions of being out in public and touching him. Instead, what does he do? He affirms her. He gives her peace. He calls her his daughter in the faith. He commends her for her faith. He pronounces her as a healed woman. And in doing so, he fully reinstates her as a full participant in every aspect of community and religious life. That's a healing. To allow her to have disappeared into the crowd would have meant only receiving a small part of what God wanted to do in her life. Jesus is concerned for every part of her. She reached out to touch him, but Jesus was touching her physically, socially, emotionally, spiritually. Complete transformation. Jesus changes lives. I think of a friend of mine as a teenager who found herself on the streets of King's Cross, developed a daily drug addiction that could only be afforded by prostituting herself. And as a broken, fearful, abused druggie, She wanders into a Christian coffee shop in the Cross, and in the course of conversation with the owner was prayed for because she had an ear infection, and she's instantly healed, and over the course of time gave her life to Jesus. And I had the privilege of watching Jesus put her life back together piece by shattered piece, and she's now working as a chaplain in mental health services. The truth is, we are all broken people. I want to encourage you to watch the video I'll link to below. It's a beautiful song by Nicole Mullen called One Touch. But would you come to Jesus today? Would you reach out to him and let him reach out to you? See you in the next episode.